Now, the next key point to understand, and this was totally unexpected, and we are now beginning to understand it as we move forward, is that meibomian gland functionality is not equal across the lower lid, which is amazing. Why shouldn't the glands be equal? And the temporal glands rarely secrete, and the nasal glands have most of the secretion. So if you had, let's say, 10 glands open, I would suggest that you probably have 6 to 7 nasally, 2 to 3, well, you might have six nasally, 3 centrally, and 1 temporally. So when you examine, if you just wanted a quick evaluation, that's the area you'd go with, half central, half nasal, to have an idea. And in the data that we published, that was the data. A quarter of a gland, which really means that only 1 person in 4 had 1 meibomian gland that was open temporally. The next question was that we try to answer is, do meibomian glands secrete throughout the waking hours? And all of this material has basically been published in a peer-reviewed journal. We quarantined 10 individuals. These individuals were all optometry students who qualified. We paid them $250 a day, and they came and they didn't do anything else but sit there and be examined. They were allowed to read, but they could not use a computer. So we noticed at 8 o'clock on this one individual, all of the nasal glands, glands 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, were working perfectly, while almost none of the temporal glands worked. And that characteristic happened throughout the whole day. So if a gland is working in the morning, it will work all day long, as a general rule, and if it's not working, it will not work all day long. So again, the same basic understanding that if we don't have a metric, we won't go very far. The next point is, if you're a rigid contact lens practitioner, you'd wonder why some people can wear rigid contact lenses for so many years. And we studied that. We also have studied soft. But if you take people who have worn rigid lenses for more than 30 years, they have 9 glands in the lower lid which are functional. If you take individuals who are dropouts after 10 years, they have half that number. And if you take control groups, they have about 5. So the number of glands going down through the years that are functional decreases. But those individuals who have a lot of glands open can wear rigid contact lenses and soft contact lenses virtually indefinitely. So in summary, what we've learned is all the glands aren't equal. We've learned that that color chart is pretty effective in conveying the number of glands that are open compared with the dry state. This is a very important tool, and it's not as easy to master as you'd think. You probably have to do 50 to 75 people to be able to use the data at all, and it probably takes several hundred people to become really proficient with all the different lids. So you can control it, but that technique really allows one to very quickly assess whether the meibomian glands are functional or not functional, and that's my favorite tool, and I probably do it. I am now down to seeing probably 30 people a day, many of whom are difficult, but I probably use it 20 to 25 times during the day. If a meibomian gland is drained in the morning, it does not recover very quickly. And then we talked about the diurnal factor. And then this MGD, if people are involved in co-management, if you're an OD and you're not going to be doing LipiFlow just like you don't do LASIK, it's really great if you can make a diagnosis and you know yourself how many glands are functional or not. So this is a technique that I'm sure in 5 years will be just a standard part of teaching in optometry schools and teaching references and teaching residents. Next question, why do glands obstruct? Well, it's multifactorial. And the reasons we defined in 1980 when we said it's that terminal duct develops keratotic clusters and then bacterial proliferation if it becomes infected. And we published that in both the British Journal of Ophthalmology and the AJO, and the American AOA journal, I believe. But we go back to the days of rigid lens fitting. The plague with rigid lenses was to get people to blink. The root cause of 75% of all dry eye is inadequate blinking over a period of time, because what blinking does is, as it comes down, the orbicularis attaches to the muscles of rhyolin. The muscles of rhyolin surround the Meibomian glands, and they squeeze it. So if we had an individual who won a lottery, and they said, I don't want to walk anymore, I'm going to be carried or be in a wheelchair, what would happen? Well, they'd have grave systemic problems, but they'd have immediate circulatory problems and atrophy of vessels and muscles in the legs. So today in medicine, you get them right up a bed, whether they're dying or not, and get them moving. Complete change in the way medicine thinks, but we don't think that way. So the root cause of much of this is in blinking. And there's a whole dental plaque analog, which I'll keep referring to, and that's so important because we will be practicing in the same psychological framework as dentists. Contact lenses and success, we've solved many problems, but the problems we're left with are dryness, desiccation, and comfort, and the causes are Meibomian glands and lid wiper epitheliopathy and contact lens surfaces. So again now, we come back to the same question. And as we know more and more, our percentage of success with anything should go up. So once you know that you don't have an adequate number of Meibomian glands that are open, and once you know that a stare test, like we did on you, causes burning in 7 seconds in your office, and once you know that your breakup time is 4 or 5 seconds with fluorescein or by other method, any technique that you have that's focused on anything else but Meibomian glands is not going to be successful. It's that simple. So if you want to get that percentage up, you have to understand what the root cause is.